This is my formerly 24 volt front end loader that uses the medical grade and furniture grade 12 volt actuators. I was running them on 24 volts. I created a video for YouTube. You've been seeing that for quite some time now. I made an upgrade to it about 8 months ago, I guess, to 48 volts. And this is a report on how it's been operating and how this was done. Now, the actuators themselves, because it was 48 volts, I could not rely upon the stop switches that come from the factory inside. Here in this portion, there's a stop switch here and a diode, and a stop switch up at this end and a diode. I had to remove that entire mechanism. There's a yellow wire that comes in and goes into the switch, runs the length to the other switch, and then back and goes into a red wire. So when this was totally removed, then I had to join the yellow wire to the red wire. And of course, depending on the brand of actuator, that may be different coloring, but most of them that I've seen have been yellow and red. But in any case, so I drilled a small hole here. Now you can do this internally. There's enough space in there that you can do this internally. But being that I've been experimenting, I wanted to have access to this, so I just drilled a small 1/4-inch hole and ran the wires on the outside and joined them together with a wire nut. That way I could continue to experiment as I wanted to. So in any case, once that is done, then the question comes up as to how do you stop the actuators from running full length and doing damage to themselves? Well, the answer is stop switches. And these stop switches, as the lift moves, they will, for example, this one right here, this will press in and come in and pull that little plunger in and stop it. Same way with this one. This here will turn up enough to where it will come in and stop it. Let me just show you. I'm going to turn it on. And you can see the speed is significantly better. Watch. See, it stopped. See? I'm not turning it off. The stop switch is stopping it. And the same way for this one here in regards to the down. See, it stops it. Now, these come up via these wires here, and they go inside. Of course, I think you'll recognize these solenoids from the previous 24 volt. I'm still using those, but what these stop switches do is they interrupt power to my controller. Okay, and so when they stop power, the controller no longer has any control over the solenoids, and that's how that's done. So the controller is wired to each of these posts to control the direction, but the stop switches determine whether the controller gets power or not. I hope you understand that. Now there's something that I want to make mention here. You notice that this gear is ruined. This is because at the 48 volt level, the motors turn so fast that they don't stop immediately, and you can overrun. In other words, you can put the loader in a bind where the actuator can't move but the motor continues to run, and as a result some damage can happen. So you want to be aware of that, and do your best to set your stop switches with a little bit of room to give you some extra time to stop. And I'll describe a little bit later more detail about how I damaged this actuator in this way. So a few concluding thoughts in regards to the 24 volt versus the 48 volt system. Hopefully these comments will help you make your decision as to what you want to do. 24 volts, decent performance. 48 volts, and increased performance as far as speed. As far as what the loader could do as picking up loads, it was virtually the same. But the speed was much improved with the 48 volts. Let me show you. So that is approaching hydraulic speed. Makes the work more enjoyable to have that speed. It's able to keep up with you a lot better than the 24 volts. 24 volts, you kind of feel like there are times when you just twiddling your thumbs, you know. But this keeps up with you much better. So as far as that is concerned, highly recommended. I showed you this gear, and this gear was damaged because what I did was I got the tractor in a bind. I was trying to pull a root up out of the ground. Well, the root was pretty significant in size, and it couldn't do it, and I wanted to put the tractor to the test. I wanted to see just what it could take, and it couldn't take that. That was a little bit too much trying to pull that out. So it stripped this gear in this actuator. And before you go saying, oh, cheap Chinese junk, they put plastic in there, keep in mind that these things are intended for furniture. They're intended for hospital applications like hospital beds and things like that. They're not intended for this kind of abuse. So having said that, give the Chinese a break. They keep the costs low, and we're able to have something that's an alternative where you can make yourself a loader. If you just use some restraint, it'll do everything you want it to do. Okay, now having said that, the reason why this stripped out is at 48 volts, this motor is spinning much faster than at 24 volts. And it's just socking that power to it, and it'll keep trying as long as you keep trying. So that's what caused it to bust. So keep that in mind, that you can do damage. I'm going to reset my camera, come around and talk a little bit about the batteries and the significance of what you need to do with the batteries. So hang on. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about these batteries. All right, I've got two batteries, 24 volts, 24 volts. They're hooked in series, so it produces 48 volts. They're fused, so it protects the system. Now I've got wire nuts down here, and I like to use the wire nuts because I do so much experimenting. But you probably want to make a more permanent connection once you figure out what you want to do. But the wire nuts do work. All right, so these batteries, see, I've got some extra ones here. They're 4 amp hour batteries. Now 4 amp hour batteries, two of them, with this loader working steady, like going and getting a load of dirt and emptying it, going and getting another load, emptying it, another load, another load, another load. Quickly, just steady work for a couple hours. I'm going to drain these batteries out within 2 hours, to where the loader is, I'm seeing performance drop on the loader. It starts to slow down. Think of this as like a jug of water or something, and as you're using it, it's getting less and less and less and less. I'm using up the electricity in there. So the performance is getting less. Okay, and you'll start to notice that probably about an hour and a half in or so. That is on steady use. Now, if you're going to use your loader and you're going to go do a little something, you're going to get a load of dirt, and then the tractor's going to sit for an hour, and then you're going to get another load of dirt, the tractor's going to sit another 45 minutes. I mean, that kind of work is going to last all day. So you need to kind of ask yourself, what am I going to use my loader for? Because that will have an influence on how many amp hour that you want your batteries to be. Okay, I seldom will use this tractor for 2 hours straight, just getting with it, going and getting a load and emptying it, and another load, and so on. Usually it's I go do something and then the tractor sits for a little while. So the 4 amp hour batteries, for the most part, work well for me. But if you intend to be constantly using your loader, you need to have higher amp batteries. You need 6 amp hour, 8 amp hour, 10 amp hour. Okay, at 8 amp hour, you're only going to have somewhere around 4 hours of work. So think about that. Okay, if you're going to go an 8-hour day, you're going to have to change those batteries out. And see, that comes into another area of inconvenience, because when these drain down and you want to continue to work, you need to swap these out. So I got to get off the tractor, I got to take these and go put them on charge, and I've got chargers there that I can charge 2 up at the same time. Now, if I don't have extra batteries, then I've got to wait for them to charge up. So I need to have extra batteries. So this starts getting into some added expense, right? And you need to start thinking about it, because with the 24 volt system, I can set up a 24 volt system with 3 actuators for somewhere around $400. Okay? But now on a 48 volt system, I've got extra batteries, and those batteries don't come cheap. I've got at least, plus I've got an extra charger I need to have, I've got at least 200, maybe $300 or $400, depending on the amp hour batteries I buy. So that starts getting into the realm of, well, do I really want an electric system? It might pay me to go ahead and put a hydraulic system in. So think about that a little bit in your decision making. It's going to be an important decision, because the hydraulics is going to give you good performance right off. It's heavier duty, and there's a lot of good to be said about hydraulics. The thing about the electric systems is they're cheaper to get into. Now, that'd be one thing to look at. You could start out at 24 volts, like I built this tractor at 24 volts, and then later on decided, okay, I want to go to 48 volts, and then made the changes. So consider all these things. I'm hoping that this information is helpful to you in your decision process, and thank you for watching.